Welcome back to the news review segment of this show. After that, quite interesting music. Willis Raburu forgot to ask Eric Wainaina if he finally managed to reach Adhiambo's home and actually pay the dowry, because that's what the song is about. A story for another day. We are joined in the panel by Mheshimiwa Isaac Mwaura, nominated member of parliament. Would I say you're recovering from what happened in Ruiru, or would I say you have recovered? Because I saw you quite vibrant during the national prayer breakfast.
Yes, I'm almost recovering. I'm still having some itch in my ear, but I'm still okay.
Yes. How come you didn't go for treatment abroad?
Why would I go abroad? I just checked in at Nairobi Hospital the whole night. They did reconstruction, and I'm doing well. So.
Would they have done it at Kenyatta?
Well, I think Nairobi Hospital has got very good care. I'm not sure whether it will be done in Kenyatta. Most likely, yes, but I usually frequent Nairobi.
Kenyatta has very good doctors.
So what would happen to an ordinary Kenyan who cannot afford Nairobi Hospital?
I think it's not a question of affording, it's a question also of preference. I don't think it's a question of affording, because I don't think you say people who go for the private side of Kenyatta or wing, whatever.
It's not any cheaper.
Yeah, it may not be any cheaper. It's a question of convenience preference, because that's where I usually frequent. But it's nothing to do with the question of affordability, because I think some of these things may even be done at a lower level, because the Jubilee government has done very well in improving the hospitals across the country.
Fair enough. And also joining us Mheshimiwa Ochilo Mbogoyako, former minister and aspiring governor of Migori County. Mheshimiwa, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Charles.
How does it feel? We saw your picture and name in the papers. You are one of the people who are supposed to be red-carded.
Well, I know that's a hoax. I know somebody created it to publicize my name. It's good news to have your name in the papers. It's bad news if the name is tagged the wrong way. But I don't see any substance in the allegation against me.
Thank you very much. Before you joined us, we were looking at Mheshimiwa Deputy President William Ruto's involvement in Jubilee primaries, and Martha Wangari, member of nominated senator and aspiring member of parliament for Gilgit. She says waiting. She gave it, I think she gave it justice. So we'll quickly move on to a story of interest to the general public on the Business Daily. Now, second-hand cars are to get more expensive in new age limit rule. Apparently, East African Community has resolved that they slash the age of importing cars from 8, 10, depending on which country, to a maximum of 5 years. What do you think this would impact?
I think, Charles, if you allow me, let me just make a short comment on
DP and Jubilee primaries. Yes. And I wanted to punish you because you are late, so I didn't want to give you a chance.
Let me say this. And I apologize for that.
No, it's all right. Sorry.
The DP is being accused strongly by people. Really, if you lost by 300,000. Where on earth did the DP start ballots for? And we are on the ground. I am here in Kiambu, and I can say I lost fairly. So people stop creating stories and having imaginary individuals who are supposed to be all powerful, interfering. That is not true. The local factors may have been against you, and the greatest local factor that will be against you is the voters rejecting you. In fact, can we also be honest that much as political parties have problems and we need a political parties primaries bill, the Jubilee nominations to a large extent were fairly credible. They were fairly credible. And this I can say, and especially let me talk about Kiambu, because I was there to vote. Of course, the first day we incurred a lot of costs, and these are things that we need to ensure that even a political party, if one fails to do proper nominations, the candidate can even demand their own fees back, such penalties. Because political parties must also grow up and behave. But when you cannot accuse imaginary individuals for your own woes, saying that because that the governments are not run on proverbs and pointed shoes, I mean, really, honestly, I think people are being unfair, largely unfair to the deputy president, and because they can see Mwangi Kiunjuri, for example, is well positioned, maybe in Kikuyu land, in terms of the succession politics. Now, coming to the other issue, I think I agree with that.
So that we don't mix these issues, let's give everybody a fair chance, and then we can together move on to the issue of second-hand cars in the region. Mheshimiwa Ochilo Ayako, you did not get the party tickets that you wanted to get, and now you're contesting as an independent. Are you seeing the hand of the party leadership?
Well, what I can say for certain that the primaries were not there. They were not conducted credibly, fairly, and freely. I do not know whose hands were there, but they were not there. The evidence that supports that is the tribunal, the county appeals tribunal of the party clearly decreed that it was shambolic. The National Appeals Tribunal and subsequent tribunals have done so. What I find unfair is the giving of the nomination certificates to people who seem moneyed but are unpopular on the ground, people who have what we call integrity issues. They have audit queries, violence issues all over. So that seems to show that there is something underhand or untoward when it comes to the nomination process.
So there is a hand in the nomination?
Yes, but if you ask me about the DP's role, because I'm a Kenyan, I can comment about it.
And you have worked with him?
Oh yes, we were in college about the same time. I think politics, you have to be Machiavellian, and I think if he did this, then he's a smart politician. Those who feel aggrieved by what he's being suspected to have done have another opportunity to run as independent and prove to the public that they are electable.
Fair enough. I think everybody has had a chance. Now let's delve into this issue of second-hand cars, because the rate at which people are getting cars from foreign markets is just out of this world. And now East African countries say it must not be more than 5 years. And I'll start with you, Martha. What does this portend to car ownership and mobility in the country?
I think, first of all, it is coming at a very interesting time, because the regulations are coming from EAC. It's coming at a time when we are debating IALA candidates, and I can tell you, if you watch the debate yesterday in the Senate, you would see that there's a major outcry, first of all, that we need to get the right people to IALA, because those are our ambassadors. We are supposed to lead in this region in terms of competence, in terms of what we bring on the table.
Actually, we have lost the position to Ethiopia in
we are losing
prudence.
very fast, actually, and it's something we need to really fight and retain. But in East Africa community, I'll tell you that in terms of unifying the requirements, it is very necessary, because if you go to Tanzania, you'll have 10 years. If you come to Kenya, it's 8 years. It's of course not good news, because if you reduce the years, then it means the cost goes higher. And I know Kenyans, they love second-hand. Everyone does, because they are more affordable, but it will be an interesting thing to have it debated and actually unified. And this idea of East Africa bloc is something we can work with in terms of even other issues economically. So it is a progressive move, and it does not happen in a day. That is one thing, because it's staggered. It's meant actually to go up to 2021. The fact that it is phased, then it will mean that people will have time to adjust and be able to actually internalize what it means.
Mheshimiwa Mwaura, they say, the people behind this say that it's meant to promote local assembly in the region, local vehicle assembly in the region. Apparently, they agree that second-hand imports are highly popular in majority of middle-income Kenyans as they are cheaper in cost.
I think first and foremost, I need to debunk the myth that Ethiopia has gone ahead of Kenya just the other day. If you even look at the currency, many years ago, the Ethiopian birr has always been 10 times. I don't know yeah. And even you're in Addis Ababa, you can see the economy is stronger, the country is bigger, the population is higher, and they are more in an authoritarian kind of regime, which maybe has a lot of controls. They have the advantage that they have the capital of the AU, which really brings a lot of foreign currency because of the meetings and whatever. And obviously, yes, Ethiopia is not part of the East African community. I think it's now that they have applied, so they are on a 3-year observer status. And I would very much welcome if they are admitted to the East African community, because we are talking about a common market of 250 million people, which is really good for Kenya. And Kenya is really an emerging economy with the SGR and what have you, with the oil, with the LAPSET project. We are bound to go places. In fact, it is very interesting to see that Magufuli has not been able to secure funding for his own SGR, because it was supposed to rival the Kenyan one. So I think, much as the cost is very high, but I think, in my opinion, we are still setting ourselves up, you know, for further growth if we continue with the same pace. But we need to reduce the cost of doing business. That is something we must do, and even the elements of corruption. Those are areas we need to look at. Now, I was in Japan recently, and I think that country makes a lot of money out of used
vehicle.
Yeah, and really, honestly, if you look at there's a, is it called Mobius? Mobius. This car that is assembled here that looks like a real
one that is assembled locally.
Yeah, in Thika. And you see, Charles, at a cost of 700,000, you have a new car that is more attuned to the local terrain. So why would you buy a similar one at 1.5 million, 2 million, which is used, refurbished? Let us say all of us here have used cars. They are better, they are okay, they are more manageable. But if we can reduce that and assemble locally, we are basically bringing jobs for Kenyans. We are reducing the idea, because the import market, the amount of money we are spending as a country to buy used cars, used spare parts, used everything, is a lot. So it's not just a question of trying to, I think we were doing 90,000 vehicles at some point, the last time I checked, per year, used vehicles from Japan alone.
Isn't it ironical, Mheshimiwa Mwaura, that you want more jobs created for people in vehicle assembly plants, and then people denied jobs in selling spare parts and I mean, informal sector, Juakali.
Look at it this way: the fabrication. Like yesterday, I even was watching the amount of money people are making out of making the body assembly and panel. It's a lot of money. I was even surprised that this is happening in our own country. So when you have more local assembly, even these spare parts and whatever, they will also be manufactured locally. They will also be second hand in the process, and people will inspire our economy. Okay. Where are the jobs for Kenyans? Because when we buy used vehicles from abroad, we are actually making jobs for those other people. Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Chilo, your take on this?
Yeah, my take is very simple. I think Kenyans are reeling from the high cost of commodities, including vehicles. Vehicles have become a necessity. Public transport has virtually collapsed. You can see people riding motorcycles going to work and various places at great peril to their health and their security. I believe that we should have a common market where things are standardized, but the focus should be on affordability of things. So if we are talking about 5 years and we want vehicles that are imported second-hand to be standardized at 5 years, it's a good idea, but give us the right price. If we are talking about locally assembled vehicles and locally manufactured spare parts, that's a wonderful idea. It will bring food and jobs back to our country, but give us the right prices. Make sure that Kenyans, do not suffer. I want to tell you, Charles, that people are really suffering out there. People still earn about 10,000 shillings. They have children, they have extended families, and have other responsibilities.
By people, you mean Kenyans?
Yes.
Mheshimiwa Mwaura, are Kenyans suffering?
Yes, Kenyans are ask all of us here have gone to look for votes.
No. Are Kenyans suffering?
No, I'm answering you. And I can tell you where we are going to look for votes. The bottom there of the pyramid. People are really poor. We have huge disparities. In fact, our middle class is very small. And in fact, they don't matter a lot in politics.
Go out there to Kibra, go to Madara, you will find a long snake of line of people walking to work, people working without meals, people recovering from injuries and sickness without going to hospital.
Martha, would you say this is a failure of the Jubilee government to stop people suffering?
I wouldn't say.
First of all, are you in agreement that Kenyans are suffering?
I think if you've watched even our debates in Parliament, there is one thing we're in agreement with. Even the President, even as he made his address to Parliament, the last that he did, the one thing that we're in agreement is that we have a crisis in terms of unemployment. I think nobody would be blinded even by party allegiance to say there is no problem. It is the truth, because we are talking of millions of people who are looking for employment, and the one thing the government has tried to do, even with the creation of the iHubs, you've seen with the ICT ministry, the creation, the youth movement and the youth agenda they are doing at the counties, it is all meant to create employment, because that is why even SGR, the one highlight that we can talk about is that we'll have some young people absorbed in that whole system of running the SGR, because we have a crisis in terms of employment. So it is not something that is really a party allegiance matter. We live in this country, we come from constituencies. Every day I can tell you the requests that you get per day of people who want to get some place for employment, who have skills and have not landed a job, are many.
So how would you tie this, or how would you rate the Jubilee administration? Because one of their main pledges was provision of about 6 million job opportunities.
And it is work in progress, because you know, even
work in progress.
It is work
so
in
they've
progress.
not done it.
They have not done 100%. I would not say 100%, but I will tell you, even the interventions that the government is doing, you know, people are rubbishing the issue of, say, unga, the subsidy of unga. It may have its own issues, but I can tell you, if there is one thing that has touched the common mwananchi, it is matters ugali. Regardless of where it comes, because that is a direct impact on someone who buys a packet a day for his children or for her children. So the subsidies, the interventions the government is doing, it's already appreciating that yes, there is a problem, but what can we do? You don't just sit back or just ridicule the government just because there is a problem, because it is not just here. If you go to Venezuela, they have had demonstrations for the last, I don't know,
almost 6 months now.
6 months, because of high cost of food. So it is a global also issue. It doesn't just affect Kenya, but what matters is what the government is doing. How proactive is the government to remedy?
Mheshimiwa, sorry, we interjected your perspective of the issue on motor vehicles. Yes, delve into the issue of employment.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is, yes, it is a good thing to think about local manufacturing. It's also a good thing to standardize commodities and also you know, the age of what we import in our region. A regional economic bloc makes sense if it has more than 100 million people plus. That's a good idea. But we must not lose sight of the runaway inflation, the runaway cost. We must also not lose sight of quality, safety. All these are matters of public concern. And
Martha says the Jubilee administration is on the right track. Although they've not given 100% of their pledge, they have done well.
I want to say that the performance is modest. It's not anything to sing home about. I want to say that some things are being done. Yes, there is a lot of talk and hype about the SGR. The SGR, if you look at the cost in comparison to what has been done in Ethiopia, although my friend Mwaura says Ethiopia
is richer,
I don't think so. I think Ethiopia, in terms of cost, in terms of governance issues, is getting it better than we are. I think Tanzania, there is more overemphasis on governance issues at the expense of efficiency and other things. But the cost of SGR, all of that is through the roof, and it's not good. We are likely to feel the impact for a much longer period, the amount of debt we have and all this. The economy must, bottom line, be able to address provision of basic services, shelter, medicine, and food, all that, and also provide employment to people. If you look at Ethiopian Airlines, for instance, and compare it with Kenya Airways, I think the salaries that the staff there earn are standardized. The Ethiopians are more patriotic because perhaps they know how to deal with the cost of living. In Kenya, the airline staff are always on strike. The pilots want millions of shillings, and all these pass-through costs that Kenyans have to bear. So there is something that is not working for us generally, and everything is becoming expensive. And we might just get into a situation where we have a recurrence of or something akin to French Revolution in Kenya, where people revolt because they want food, no bread and all that. And revolution knows nobody. All these guys who live in posh places will have to be pulled down and thrown down the river, like the Chinese Revolution and all those other revolutions. I think we need some stability.
Mheshimiwa Mwaura, you mentioned something. The Ethiopian dispensation being more authoritarian, and you said maybe that could be the reason why they're enjoying what they're enjoying, the strong economy, the development, the patriotism, like Mheshimiwa Chilo is saying. Are you telling us something about the kind of dispensation that we need to have order?
This is a bit controversial, but allow me to say it, because I'm a student of development, and if you look at the studies in development, the states that have emerged as new markets, stronger economies, they have always had a strong hand of the state. Where people are a little bit more conservative, people are not as questioning, but then there is a visionary leadership. That I can tell you. It's not my own making. I'm not trying to advance dictatorship and authoritarianism as a form of governance. But look at our neighboring Rwanda, really doing very well. I mean, I miss our country. Look at Japan also. They have a very conservative democracy. You can tell, even if you go to that country, it's very rare to find people at my age or our age who are in parliament, in their diatom. If you look at even countries like Singapore,
which was in the same rank with Kenya.
Yes, and Korea.
870.
You know, but we have had a very liberal constitution that gives a lot of freedom, which is okay. That's what we fought for. But it is clogging the system. Everything has to be taken to court. And now that coupled with our appetite for corruption, we are almost sometimes in a gridlock, because this increases the cost of doing business. The other one is towards decision making. So in the process, you find a situation where the fabric of the society is really low. And we need, and that I must say, strong leadership, visionary. Not, you know, you can have a strong leadership that is only accumulating. You know, it has atavistic tendencies or primitive accumulation. That will not take us anywhere. We have had that in the past. But if you have visionaries, people who really want to inspire people, and I think the problem with Tanzania, where Magufuli is that now he is instilling fear in public service rather than inspiring, you know, performance and increasing productivity.
Maybe he's destroying what they have so that he builds what he sees in his
time will vindicate him, but obviously he is very much credited in building more lasting roads and whatever. Here the cost of doing 1 kilometer of road is 40 million, and that's a lot of money. Now there is a machine from Japan that does 20 kilometers a day, one machine from a company somewhere. I have not mentioned, so because I'm not doing, I'm waiting for them. But there are things we can do that will move the society forward. And personally, I think there is a very clear case for strong leadership, visionary. And one thing that I have realized, and Honorable Chilo Wayako was my minister one time when I was a young person, and I served in the board that he appointed me. And it's good I give you credit on TV here.
Thank you.
You seem to have benefited a lot from so many people.
No, but that's what you do. You need
that is what humanity is all about.
It's all about. And I have also mentored so many others who are banned for
He's a competent person.
Exactly. The issue I'm trying to say is that when you have people who come to leadership thinking that when you do good in leadership, then you're rewarded by another term, I have realized like 76% of members of parliament don't come back.
Okay.
So you've got, and Edmund Burke put it very clearly, if we make it a popularity contest, then we will not, you know, employ our talents to move society forward. You've got to say, whether I am elected or not, I have an agenda to fulfill. I have a legacy. So that, Charles, then you can see traction. But if you just look at what will the people say, this is where we are now. Popularity contest. And so therefore you're actually, you're in limbo. You cannot move forward. And that does not help you to make bold decisions like the Michuki rules and say we have to streamline this industry, whether I'm elected or not. In fact, for me, I say the best person who will come to lead this country will say, whether you elect me or not, I have a 5-year mandate. Mukikataa kunichagua shauri yenu, but I will do it. Then after some time people will say, well, this guy did it.
Mheshimiwa Wangari, strong leadership and visionary leadership, as according to Mwaura and according to Mheshimiwa Chilo, is more of what we need than populism.
I'm actually listening to Mwaura and I'm in shock because I know he's one proponent of
democracy.
The democracy that we're enjoying today has been. So when he's a pro-authoritarian system, I'm a bit shocked. But I would say one thing. This constitution, for the naysayers that were against our constitution, that is one thing they were actually tagging. Even the late Honorable Michuki, that is one thing they were saying, we need to make decisions without consulting and with nobody's. But the majority of Kenyans thought otherwise. And I'll tell you, worldwide, that is one thing we are admired for, that the president's attention can be brought through a hashtag, you know, through a hashtag, and they actually realize that, all right, there's a problem, we need to do something about it, because we are also dealing with demographics that are very different in terms of being a young nation generally, that the average age of a Kenyan today is 19 years. By all fairness, yes, 19 to 21 years. So I'm telling you, we are dealing with a population that does not need the authoritarian. And I think it is a good thing for a nation that you can actually ventilate through Twitter and a whole government responds to it.
Democracy is not cheap.
It is not cheap, let me tell you, because you cannot even dream of going back to where we were not supposed to question or ask anything about anything that is being done in this country.
And I'm wondering,
that democracy, we just need to put it in good use. And I will tell you, with progressive and infrastructure being put properly, institutions working, we will not worry about democracy.
Much more, Chido. We need to move on, but I can't resist asking the effect of democracy and the rise of corruption in this country. He mentioned something very pertinent, that you have to go to courts. You can go to the court as many times and defend yourself even if you're as guilty and as black as a pot.
Democracy is the worst form of government, except if you compare it to tyranny. I mean, tyranny is terrible. So we just have to have a democracy. My departure from the point of view of Mwaura is a strong or authoritarian leadership. I believe that we should have an effective government. It's the right terminology is effective government. An effective government is a government that earns what is called political capital through a free and fair process and is able to be persuasive to both the ruling elite and the opposition, so that in parliament, when an issue is brought, you do not have to push it down the throat of people. A government led by a person whose leadership and whose ability to persuade and a team that is trusted and followed. If you look at South Africa, when Mandela started, I think there was a lot of charisma surrounding his leadership.
There was hope.
There was hope, and that makes the individual leader effective. But if you overstay your visit, or if you allow other forces like corruption and other things to surround you, then there is clawback. Other things eat into your effectiveness.
How effective is effective to the extent of respect to our constitution?
You need to have, because a democracy is a process where the will of the majority is adhered to, but the voice of the minority is heard.
So it's populism.
So it's not actually populism. You need to be persuasive.
Majority is more than 50%.
But
so you're popular.
Let me tell you, there is a tremendous goodwill. There is a tremendous good understanding by majority of people. They know what is right. But if you introduce it the wrong way, if you think that you are Mr. Clean and Mr. Right, or Mrs. Right or Mrs. Clean, they'll not accept it. So an effective and a strong leader is one who is able to communicate well, to persuade majority of people so that they buy into the vision of that leader, and is consultative. You consult people. People actually buy into good things. But this country, we are being held back by divisive issues like tribalism, lack of inclusion, and other unnecessary competition and litigation that is so perilous to
we versus them. Before we take a commercial break, I would love that we get into one of the main stories that we are discussing this morning. My panel, Mheshimiwa Wangare Martha, nominated senator and aspiring. She insists it's waiting member of parliament for Gilgil. 8 August will decide, Mheshimiwa. Yes. Mheshimiwa Ochilo Ayako, aspiring governor Migori County and former assistant minister, and of course Mheshimiwa Isaac Mwaura, nominated member of parliament, who is a strong advocate for prudent governance. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto were down at the coast in Kilifi and Kwale. They were trying to cipher people to see their point of view and to understand the reason why they have to be taken back to the governance of the country. But one thing stood out. There was a bashing for Wanchirao Ali Makwere, the just immediate Kenya's High Commissioner to Tanzania. It was almost getting personal. If my director has a clip, maybe we could just view it before my panelists get to this.
It was the country's Prayers Day. The spirit of unity exhibited in the event that was convened by Parliament. President Uhuru Kenyatta calling on Kenyans to shun tribalism and embrace peace, while at the same time calling on opposition leaders to do the same, despite giving the event a wide berth.
But also preach peace, preach unity.
landed in Kwale, delivering goodies including commissioning the Lunga Lunga Vanga road that would bring relief to residents when complete. But wrapped inside was a scathing collective dress down for a man they considered one of their own until just recently. One, Ambassador Chirao Ali Mwakwere, who has found a new haven in NASA's Wiper Party.
Usisahau ya kwamba rekodi ya serikali zilizopita sisi ndiko tuko nazo. Ukija hapa tutazifungua. Ndio wananchi waelewe nani ni nani.
The president and his team accuses Chirao of executing a scheme to steal Kwale's mineral-rich earth from the locals during his tenure as the Minister for Environment.
Vile mmesikia hapa mambo ya madini ambayo yako Kwale hii, ukiangalia mahali popote imewekwa sahihi, hakuna sahihi ya Uhuru Kenyatta ama Mvurya ama mtu mwingine. Sahihi ni zao, ni vile waliweka wenyewe. Kalonzo Musyoka kuna sahihi yake pale, huyu Makwere kuna sahihi yake pale.
Mzungu alisema usitupe mawe kama wewe mwenyewe unaishi ndani ya nyumba ya glass. Do not throw stones if you live in a glass house.
Chirao, the former deputy leader of Deputy President William Ruto's URP party, has been on record saying he has packed all his bags from the Jubilee House and isn't looking back.
Shangao langu ni ya kwamba mwenzetu ambaye tulikuwa naye, ambaye sisi ndio tulimpatia kazi baada ya kuangushwa, badala ya kuja kuungana na sisi na afurahie ya kwamba viongozi wenzake wamekuja kuungana na sisi, amekuwa sasa baada ya kukula miaka yake 5 amerudi kule, ameanza kuwa mtu wa matusi.
Wataenda tarehe 8 na nitaeleza kwa ufupi. Mimi kutoka nzaliwe sijakuwa chama kimoja na Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Na Mwenyezi Mungu anisaidie nisiwe chama kimoja naye.
Ukitaka tuaibishane, sisi pia tuko na rekodi yako na yale mambo wewe pia umefanya na umesumbua watu naye. Kwa hivyo tuheshimiane.
Mwakwere, however, isn't the only one guilty of deserting his political allies. Governor Mvurya too jumped ship from ODM to Jubilee, where he now seeks re-election. Mwakwere remains his fiercest rival. The team then headed to the neighboring Kilifi County, where they continued to downplay the opposition's raw criticism of the government's inefficiency as mere propaganda.
Na wananchi ni mwerevu, wanaona ile kazi imefanyika. Sasa wakabadilisha ngoma, wakasema eti kazi imefanyika, lakini wao walikuwa wameota ndoto hiyo ati kazi itafanyika.
Tomorrow, the Jubilee team campaigns in far-flung parts of Kilifi County as it seeks to remain in State House come August polls.
Thank you very much, Sylvia Chebet, for that story. Mheshimiwa Ochilo Ayako, when the president was appointing Chirao Ali Makwere as Kenya's High Commissioner to Tanzania, he had served his stint as Minister for Environment and Natural Resources, where he's alleged to have signed these mineral transactions in Kwale. Does it mean the presidency didn't do due diligence?
That is the unfortunate bit.
Is the president confessing to something here?
That is the unfortunate bit. It's not that due diligence was not done. It just means that you are good when you are with us, you are bad when you are without us. It basically means that all these political appointments serve a political end. Basically, what the president is saying right there is that certain wrongs were done against some people in Kwale regarding to minerals, and that those wrongs were not wrongs in so far as Mwakwere was loyal to the ruling administration. They have all of a sudden become wrong when he is running on an opposition ticket that is seeking to dethrone the government. I think that is politics at its worst, and that is what I call hypocrisy. What I think future leadership should do, including the president's leadership, because we don't know what will happen in future, is that let us call a spade a spade. If there are people who have issues, there are people who have integrity concerns or who have done things that are wrong in the past, do not introduce them to your administration just because you want their political support. Get Kenyans, competent Kenyans, get Kenyans who are trustworthy, give them positions and charge with them with the responsibility of delivering. So if you look at again what Mwakwere is saying about the president and the deputy president, that he cannot share a political party with them. It's just the other day that he was an ambassador representing the best policies of the government. So I think such politics is what gives a bad name to politics. Politics is actually a good thing. It's dirty politicians and dirty politics that make it unclean.
Mheshimiwa Mwaura, is this personal approach the right thing for the voter? Should this guide the voter on deciding who to vote for?
You know, I want to say that it's a very interesting thing, honestly, because Chirawa Ali Makwere, if my memory serves me right, ran on a URP ticket to be the senator for Kwale, and he lost to Juma Boy Juma. And as a result, having been a key member of the coalition, of the Jubilee coalition, he was appointed. His name came to Parliament. We passed him together with Sam Ongeri. They are now in the opposition, and people have shifted camps.
Did you know this about him and the Kwale project when you were passing his name?
Well, I think now the details about the mining contracts cannot be. They are not public to some of us. I'm sure maybe some of these will come out now because the grievances around there would be about titanium and all the other minerals that are in Kwale. But my take is that politics is like that. I think I saw at one point Raila Odinga being very bitter with me, having been nominated by ODM in a meeting. In fact, he called a whole meeting at Orange House to bash me. And I found that very hilarious, although I decided not to respond. So yes, I mean, people have shifted from one camp to another. And I think the message is like, okay, well, you've gone, but don't start saying things that, because also we know you very well. It's the same thing I saw about Onyango Olo also.
So like we knew you even when we were appointing you High Commissioner?
I think
we knew you had appended your signature to a project that would make Kenyans in Kwale suffer.
Charles, I think some of these things will come out more glaringly when it is a political contest. And especially, I think people will always feel the loss of somebody who they felt would have been on their side. I think that is normal in politics. And we should expect, because what we are hearing is political innuendos that necessarily may not translate into a substance of truth when you look at it. You know, this is a high political season of propaganda. So what am I trying to say, John? I'm trying to say that let us make sure that when we are contesting, I have to pitch for Jubilee. That's my political party.
Including using propaganda,
I mean,
name calling, everything.
The ends justify the means.
Before I move to Martha Wangari on this subject, did you just confess that as parliamentarians, sometimes you make decisions without enough information? Ivan, do you sometimes make decisions as parliamentarians without enough information?
Sometimes it's a question of disclosure, and if the information was to come later on, then obviously the decision would have already been made. What we know for sure is that at that point in time, whatever information we use, we make the best decision out of it.
Martha, appointed High Commissioner after serving, after appending his signature in this deal that is now bringing issues in Kwale. Does that mean the presidency didn't do due diligence?
You know what Honorable Mwakwere is suffering has been the same sometimes even for my friend Honorable Mwaura, that when you bash Raila, even on Facebook, you know we are friends, and guys tell him, remember, he's the one who got you from, you know, so even myself, having come from, you know, but I will tell you that
having come from UDA,
yes, it's a very sad story that we have reduced a very important issue. And personally for me, as someone who sits in the Senate, we have fought very hard to have the communities where there are minerals and natural resources be beneficiaries. You saw the TIF even in Turkana, what percentage goes? In fact, for us, we had proposed a 30%, I think, in the Senate, in the bill that was sponsored by Dr. Zani, that communities get 35. In fact, we had said 35% in terms of benefits. I would say that of course it's hypocritical for Honorable Mwakwere to actually now bash Honorable, or rather the President, His Excellency the President and our party because of that, and having served under him, it's hypocritical. But more importantly, if there is an issue of integrity, and we are dealing with such issues even in the Senate, in the House committees today, of people who should not hold public office, I think these are things that we need to hear and know. Because I wouldn't think that when the name came for vetting, these were actually brought to fore. Because that should have informed what decision you take as Parliament in terms of the vetting process.
And when the name came for appointment,
yes,
do you think the President knew about this?
I don't know really, because I don't know exactly. Because I wouldn't talk for him.
He can take it back to Parliament.
Yes, I wouldn't talk.
And tell them, no, this guy is tainted in ABCD.
I wouldn't talk for the President. I wouldn't talk for the Deputy President. But I will tell you, I wish that we can have these details today, that we are dealing of barring candidates from holding public office, because we are joking with the lives of millions of Kenyans, and thousands were
the President definitely knew the person he was appointing. The
matter is just being cautious.
Yes,
no.
The appointment
I don't know.
was definitely because of political consideration, to appease, a certain segment of political persuasion. But that is what we have to pay for honesty. I believe that what the President and the Deputy President are saying about it is politics. What Mwakwere is saying about the President is politics. And this is the whole charade about politics. The truth is kept hidden somewhere, and everything is politics here. Because you as a President, you have agencies who can actually dig into somebody's past.
Who are paid very well.
Who are paid very well.
You
get that information, but for the purpose of earning political capital and support for your administration, you say, yes, Zipapa must join me. Zipapa enjoys the privilege of serving under your administration. When it's convenient to run away, he gets out there and starts hurling abuses and stones at you. So it's a whole political circus.
The saddest thing is that the President is doing politics according to Mheshimiwa Ochilo. Mwakwere is doing politics, but the people of Kwale are suffering the wrath of some of the things the President knew had been signed, or some of the things Mwakwere signed. We'll be taking a short commercial break. Right back after this with Mheshimiwa Ochilo Ayako, Mheshimiwa Martha Wangare, and Mheshimiwa Isaac Mwaura as we look at what's making headlines today.